Now, with states recording a 68% surge in foreign debt servicing, spending a total of $235 billion in just the first half of 2025, how sustainable is the rising debt burden? Well, joining us now is Dr. Justin Amase, an economist. He'll help us crunch the numbers and understand the fiscal impact of this huge, debt servicing figures on the states. Good to have you on Newsnight. Thank you for joining us. Of course.
Thank you so much.
First off, what do you make of how troubling is this figure? I mean, when there's a 68% increase in foreign debt servicing by the subnationals, and they're using, in some cases, over 90-something% of their IGR to service, these debts.
Okay, I think the first thing I would like to touch on is basically about the nature of the debt.
Right.
The states were borrowing in dollars, and no Nigerian state, maybe probably Lagos state, but I'm not so sure, earns in dollars. So if you have to pay in dollars because that is the currency in which the debt were denominated in, you face a challenge of converting your local currency, which is the Naira, to the dollar. So the risk of repayment increases as the value of the Naira to the dollar decreases. So it is a major risk that the borrower should consider, especially in an economy like Nigeria, where the currency, the local currency, is not stable because of the gap in foreign exchange earning and the fluctuation in external reserve, as well as trade balance. So what you are seeing is not different from what happened to corporations that borrow, including multinational companies that borrowed before the unification of the Naira. The repayment went up so high that some of them could not sustain their operations, and they had to fold up. Much earlier than that, we had a case of Etisalat that even borrowed from local bank in foreign currency, and when the exchange rate crashed, they couldn't continue their operation, and so the banks had to take over. So this is a case of the crystallization of the risk of external debt repayment in a foreign currency that the borrower doesn't earn.
Interesting. So, I mean, if you earn Naira, why do you go borrowing in dollars, is what you're saying, basically?
Well, you borrow in dollars because some of your investment, especially you want to bring in equipment, you want to fund some of the capital investment, you need the dollars. Okay,
so because I'm trying to understand what you're saying here, it's okay for them to borrow because, I mean, those things they are bringing in, they have to pay in the legal tender that is acceptable globally, which is the dollars, even though they earn in Naira.
Yeah.
So I guess the question will now be, how much can you borrow if you do not earn in such currency? And how bad is it at this stage? Because some would say the fact that they're able to service their debts is a good thing. So what's the problem here? I mean, how bad is the state when you see such percentage for debt servicing, over 68%?
Yeah, I will take a simple case. By December 2022, the total debt of states was 5.33 trillion. Now, as at January of this year, the value of the debt, external debt, the value of the debt, the total debt was, was 10.74 trillion. So you can see, even at the level of expansion, the expansion has been very significant. Meanwhile, there are factors that also contributed apart from exchange rate. The exchange rate case is very clear. As at May 2023, the dollar was selling for 460 Naira to the dollar roughly. But as at January, it went to, as at 1st of January, it went to around 1,538 Naira to the dollar. So you can see the dramatic increase. What you need to look at now 1,538 minus 460. You will get something in the region of 1,088. That means that is the additional Naira you need to outlay to be able to pay the same dollar that you would have paid in May 2023.
Right.
So you can see the primary reason is that the value of the repayment in dollars may not have changed, but because of the depreciation of the Naira, that has brought about a significant increase in the dollar amount of the repayment. Now, there was another second factor.
Okay.
During the 2020 COVID-19, a lot of central banks made some intervention. Huge amount of money was released in the system. So the system was full of liquidity. And for many countries, after COVID-19, it triggered inflation, high inflation. And central bank had to raise their interest rate, the plan rate. And that created high cost of borrowing in the international capital market. So states and companies that borrow within that time, that's from 2021 to probably last year, borrowed at a high cost. That is the interest rate on what they were borrowing. Even if they were issuing fixed interest instrument like bond. So the cost of borrowing also went up, apart from the depreciation of the Naira. Again, basically, the issue of revenue, internal revenue, is a problem.
Yeah,
because the concept of debt is that you borrow when you don't have enough to cover your expenditure. So while states are expanding their expenditure year on year, like there is a significant difference between the expenditure last year, the budget, all the states have increased their budget. And unfortunately, not all of them have increased their internal generated level. In Nigeria, more than 20 states can now fund 20% of their budget. So this is a critical thing that leads them to a huge deficit, which results in borrowing. That is, growth in borrowing continues.
So what exactly would you say are the potential solutions, the way out to manage this external debt obligations? Considering too, there's a federal government that's actually, leading the charge in paying off, this external debt.
Yep.
Well, how do we manage this? I mean, how do you come out
of
this
for the state? There are quite a number of options. The first is to look at digitizing revenue collection, because both at the federal and at the state level, there are significant inefficiencies in managing collection. In other words, the poor management of collection leads to a lot of leakages in revenue. So one of the major approach they will do is to digitize their collection. They will follow that up by expanding the tax base, because at the state level, a significant proportion of the economy is informal. So much of the penetration of tax collection, or they have not been included into, most of the informal sector has not been included in the tax bracket. So they will have to do something about it. That's the first step. The second step is that states should go back and try to renegotiate the terms. Probably if the creditors can extend the tenure, it will become easier for them. Then the second thing is they should also go and look at the composition of the debt, because as a result of the depreciation, the composition has 64% of external debt of states, and 60% of debt of state is external. Why the balance of the state? So the cost is very much. The other solution is for them to look at redundant state assets and financialize them. In financialization, you don't lose title.
All right, Dr. Amase, we're told we have to go, but I just wanted a yes or no from you very quickly. States are now getting more money from FAC thanks to subsidy savings. Would this cushion the effect in any way with this debt servicing and debt burden? Is it supposed to? Are we seeing that?
It won't cushion it much because of the gap between the sum of the internal revenue and the FAC. Because this year alone, by June, FAC allocation for state was 4.1 trillion. And if you look at what they are earning collectively, as at the end of last year, or let's start from 2020, the total IGR for state was just about 2.4 trillion. So even if you add, let's say, 4.1, that is the first half of this year, there is still a gap. And total debt is 10 point something.
Okay. Wow. The most valid question would be, hope these borrowings are leading to fiscal, sustainability, what the people can feel and see. Thank you so much.
It's not looking like
well, thank you very much, Dr. Amase, for being on the news tonight. We do appreciate your time. Dr. Justin Amase is an economist. He's been looking at the case with the surge in foreign debt servicing by subnationals in Nigeria.